Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Hornets Daily, presented by Fan Arc, your one-stop shop for all things Charlotte Hornets. I'm Vance Ballard, but as always, friends like you call me VB. And to quote the great former Carolina Panther Baker Mayfield, woke up feeling dangerous this morning, so we're going backwards hat with it today. We're going to get a little crazy here on this episode. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, click the like, feel free to leave a comment down in the comments section. As I've mentioned, as we get further along in these Hornets Daily videos, we will start to dive into your chat comments, a little bit about what you guys are thinking. We'll talk about that, get a little more personal with these videos as we progress further in them. And we finished off the last video by doing just a quick look over discussion about how the roster was shaping up, what things were starting to look like here early in July as we have come through the beginning stages of free agency and we now head towards the Summer League. Maybe a teaser for the end of the video. But less than 24 hours later, if we were to do that exact same look over again, things would look and sound quite different as the Hornets front office, Jeff Peterson and company, busiest group in the NBA, were at it again today. Charlotte reportedly agreed to a one-year deal with veteran guard Spencer Dinwiddie. And yes, folks, you did hear me say that correctly. I said guard, as Peterson and the front office continue their offseason hoarding of backcourt players. Now, on the surface, this deal sounds like a knockout, as it does appear as you read further into it. The exact numbers aren't out yet, but it does sound like for most places, like things are going to be advantageous for the Hornets, and they did not necessarily have to overpay for Dinwiddie in this case. It sounds like a knockout deal, as Spencer comes in with a career average of 13 points per game, shooting percentages of 41.4 from the field, along with 33.3 from behind the three-point line. He also brings 5.7 assists per game and a total of 3 rebounds per game in a career that spans 621 total games. Now, bringing in another old man, a whopping 32 years old, another one of those grandpas on the Hornets roster, a veteran who was able to play in 79 games in what was his 11th season in the NBA last year, just one game short of his career high of 80, while also averaging double figures on top of that. Sounds like an opportunity that most teams would jump at. It seems in this case, the Hornets were the team to do the jumping. But after all that Charlotte's done and everyone they've acquired over the last few days, this move easily brings as much, if not more, confusion than it does excitement to the fan base around Charlotte. Now, while it would be an easy first argument in favor of Dinwiddie, that he comes in and instantly offers scoring, ball handling, playmaking, and veteran leadership off the bench behind LaMelo, in addition to Trey Mann. He would also offer a sense of comfort should one of those two, and God forbid both of them go down and have to miss any time. That would all make sense. Again, easy first arguments to make on the surface here. The instant rebuttal to that, however, would be, but Vance, I thought that's what we just brought Colin Sexton in for. And to that, I would have to say, you're right. I thought so too. That is how it was relayed or portrayed, that we were bringing in Colin Sexton for those exact reasons. And that is kind of the root of the confusion. That's where it begins to kick off. As of today, a very necessary precursor when talking about the Hornets roster and how things are starting and how things look, as we know it could easily be different tomorrow. The backcourt in Charlotte currently consists of LaMelo Ball, Trey Mann, Colin Sexton, Con Knippel, Nick Smith Jr., and now Spencer Dinwiddie. That does not include Brandon Miller and Liam McNeely, who could easily play the two guard and get some minutes there as well if need be. What I'm trying to say, folks, is that the backcourt room is running out of chairs, and quickly. It's also getting harder and harder to deny that this new glutton of guards isn't starting to feel like the groundwork for something bigger to come down the line. Starting maybe to feel like Peterson is attempting to make up for a lack of free agency money by acquiring assets in order to make a splash via trade instead of in the free agent market, which we have talked about in our previous videos throughout this whole offseason process. This is not the most splashy, big name, or, for lack of a better term, sexy free agent class out there. So maybe it is something Peterson has been thinking about, playing some long games, making a splash via trade as opposed to overpaying for someone in free agency just because they're the biggest name in this year's class. That may not be something that Peterson is willing to do, and it could be this way that he's trying to build the team through assets. Speaking of assets, Charlotte now has an abundance to offer, and we've said almost ad nauseum on this show that a big man is still an imperative addition for this Hornets roster. Now, while it doesn't necessarily present early on in the early goings as we learn more about the Dinwiddie signing that he would be someone packaged in a trade, as this is also a reunion of sorts for him and Jeff Peterson after they had some shared time in Brooklyn. Add that shared time reunion with Peterson on top of how badly and desperately the Hornets need proven veterans off the bench, it starts to shape up, starts to look like Dinwiddie is, in fact, going to be in Charlotte for that, at least that one-year contract that he has reportedly signed. Now, just coming to the conclusion that it's Dinwiddie is unlikely to be moved or traded may sound like it gets us somewhere, but in all reality, it doesn't help answer any of the questions about the rest of the backcourt and their status within the roster. Whether it be part of a larger package deal or just something that happens in a different way via by himself, whichever that may be, it is starting to shape up like it's becoming more and more inevitable each day that Nick Smith Jr. is probably on his way out in Charlotte. Now, take that with a grain of salt because we're just a couple videos off of me doing a full-blown almost goodbye tribute to Tre Mann, and next thing you know, he's under a 3-year, $24 million contract, and I've wasted a goodbye. So I'm just preemptively saying it seems to me like Nick Smith Jr. is probably on his way out based on the additions and what has been going on around Charlotte in the last few days. Now, I know we're talking a lot about guards here in this video, but this move could affect not only the guard position, but some of the threes as well. SI's Zach Roberts posted his thoughts earlier saying that he thinks the Hornets would be well off putting together a package deal that included Grant Williams and some future picks and sending that over to Cleveland, and in return getting Jarrett Allen, the big man from the Cavaliers. For all the hope that surrounded Grant Williams coming into Charlotte upon his arrival, he's only been able to suit up for 45 games during his 2 seasons spent in the Queen City. So again, the best ability is availability. We all know that. There was a lot of hope, even some promise around Grant Williams. He's a great defender, good from behind the arc. And when healthy, there's no doubt he's a great option to have on the floor for defensive purposes. And again, as a three-point shooter on the offensive side. But if moving on from him is what it would take to bring in a paint anchor, a big man, proven defender, veteran-type guy, someone who's still got a lot of years left in him, could be, I don't want to say the whole future, but could be some promise going down the line at the big man position for the Hornets. If moving on from Grant Williams is what it takes to bring that into Charlotte, I think it's more than worth it to at least pick up that phone call and just hear what Cleveland has to say, or even be the ones to make that phone call and reach out to Cleveland if they're willing to move Jarrett Allen, which it sounds like they are, because they too are in a little bit of financial trouble, trying to find some money here and there to pay some guys that they know they're going to need to pay further down the line. Some others that could also be considered strong trade assets currently on the roster include the likes of Josh Okogie as well as Josh Green. And folks, I know this is going to sound crazy considering they just signed him a couple days ago, but it also has been mentioned more than once. I'm not the first guy saying this. There's a higher than 0% chance that Colin Sexton could also be moved as a part of a package deal in the coming days. Certainly something to keep our eyes on, ears to the ground, and of course we'll be right here on Hornets Daily when we find out what is going to happen, what further moves does the front office make in the coming days. Now, as we say that, obviously the rookies here are safe from harm, but the rest of the backcourt, as well as some other positions, as I mentioned, not just the guard position, as the others on the roster, all seem to be fair game if the trade route is the route Peterson decides to take. Now, I say that, obviously we know that Brandon Miller is probably an exception there. I'm not 100% sure if I'm confident in saying that LaMelo is also on that untouchable list. There's been some talks, and with the way things are going with the drive and persistence and dedication that Peterson has shown this summer towards changing the culture, towards making the necessary moves to make this a competitive playoff team, I don't know that I'm comfortable enough saying that LaMelo is on the untouchable list. Obviously, we know Miles Bridges is not one of the untouchables, so maybe it is just Brandon Miller, the only person who you could consider in Charlotte to be not up for grabs or fair game if a big trade is the route that the front office tries to go. No matter what, though, the Hornets have essentially made it impossible for themselves to sit around and just watch from the sidelines for the rest of this offseason. And with each big man that finds a new home or returns to his current home, whatever that deal may be, however, each big man comes off the market one by one. That just means one less opportunity for the Hornets to get one for themselves. But as he has done over and over and over again this summer, several times, over and over and over, I could say it again and again and again, Jeff Peterson makes a move that seems like he instantly makes the team better, but at the same time assures that tomorrow we'll have to be sitting, watching, waiting by the TV just to see what tricks he's got up his sleeve next as he continues to make moves and put this team in position to not just make the playoffs next year, hopefully make a little bit of a run in what we know is going to be a very, very wide open Eastern Conference. Now we're going to shift gears a little bit here, folks, as we continue to scratch and claw our way through the dog days of summer. Realistically, at this point, all we have is hope and often misguided optimism towards what the next season could have in store. Now, we said it a couple times in the last episode. We mentioned it at the beginning of this show. We're getting closer and closer and closer to dipping our toes into the waters of full-blown excitement, full-blown optimism about this Hornets offseason and what the next season could look like. So I do think we're getting really close to dropping that word misguided altogether from in front of optimism and allowing ourselves to know that in these dog days, all we have is just hope and optimism. That's where we're headed as a fan base here in Charlotte. I know that's kind of sad to say that just summer optimism is a good thing, but it is a goal. It is something that we're striving to reach for, again, on the backs of Jeff Peterson and the front office here in Charlotte. We were able to find out a little bit more in terms of what the next season could have in store as the Charlotte Hornets officially released their 2025 Summer League roster. Now, what I want to do here with this roster is something that's going to be a bit of a multi-part adventure, per se. Today on this episode, we're going to tell you who all is on that roster, preview just a small amount about what the summer could potentially look like, who on the roster may have the most amount of eyeballs on them, who's got the most to prove in this summer league. So that's what we'll do today. We'll start there. And then throughout the next few videos leading up to the start of Summer League, which will be 7 days, exactly 1 week away on July the 10th, from this episode, we're going to go a little bit deeper into one, maybe two of the players that could potentially be seeing a lot of time in a Hornets jersey, not only in Vegas this summer, but as the regular season arrives as well. I think this is going to be an extremely fun and hopefully informative deep dive that can also count for a little bit of early season prep, so we'll be out in front. We'll be ahead of that, knowing a little bit more about what's coming into the regular season. So, as is a popular saying around here, folks, no need to beat around the bush. Let's go ahead and get right into the 2025 Charlotte Hornets Summer League roster. Heading out to Vegas is going to be James Banks III out of Georgia Tech, Damon Baugh from TCU, PJ Hall, big man from Clemson, DeJuan Harris Jr., a guard from Kansas, Sion James, Ryan Kalkbrenner, Con Knippel, Liam McNeely. If those four names sound familiar, they should. Those are the four members of the 2025 draft class. They, of course, will be heading out to Summer League in a week as well. Jemiah Neal, guard from Creighton, Josh Aduro from Providence, DJ Rodman from Southern California, Tajon Salon, the forward who we are all familiar with here in Charlotte, another name that you recognize on the Summer League roster, KJ Simpson from Colorado, Jalen Sims, the Seahawk from UNCW, and MJ Walker Jr. round out the roster headed out to Vegas next week. Now, as you notice, there's some familiar names, quite a few actually, as we see all four of the draft picks on that list, as well as the likes of Tajon Salon and KJ Simpson. Now, we mentioned we'd talk about who's got the strongest eyes on them, who's being watched the most approved out here in Summer League next week. I feel like it's safe to say that the strongest set of eyes are going to be on Salon throughout his time in Vegas. As we know, he was a high draft pick last year, number 6 overall. But the plan when he was taken, the intent was that he was going to be I don't know if long term is the word, but a more longer term development, a prospect, if you will, in comparison to Con Knippel or Liam McNeely, who are guys more NBA ready as they come in right out of the draft. We knew that when Salon was taken, it was going to be a little more of a process. There was some development that still had to be there, but his ceiling was so high. His just raw talent was there. It seemed at the time like it was worth taking a flyer on someone like Salon. So it's going to be very important for him in Summer League to show that development has started to take place after a year. He is getting better, and it is showing some promise for the fan base, as at the moment right now it appears as if he's going to be a vital piece of the Hornets' inside game plan coming into this regular season. Now, also featured were some kind of local guys, I guess you could say, with PJ Hall out of Clemson, as I mentioned, and Jalen Sims from UNCW. So nice to see some kind of guys from around here, some people the fan base are familiar with on the Summer League roster headed out in Vegas as well. As I mentioned, folks, in one of our much earlier videos in this series, this is one of, if not the most exciting Summer League opportunities I can remember for the Hornets in a very long time, certainly in recent memory. And I told you in the last video, we mentioned it just a few minutes ago, and again in the beginning of this one, something we're saying over and over again, because it is so rare, because it is so new, that we are dangerously close to letting myself get into full-blown excitement territory for this season and even beyond into the future in Charlotte. And not one thing that I've discussed in this video has changed that at all. I'm a big fan, personally, of the addition of Dinwiddie. I think he brings an important veteran voice off the bench. He's a more proven defender than some of the other guards that play his position currently on the roster. We know that's been something that has been spoken about and questions have been raised. Can Trey Mann get better defensively? Is he going to be good enough to be an NBA defender? What about Knippel? What's his defensive upside look like? McNeely, is he going to be able to guard guys out there as well? So bringing in someone like Dinwiddie, again, Sexton, he's got his own defensive questions. Bringing in someone like Dinwiddie is going to be a big help on that side of the floor as well. Well, as always, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for watching another episode of Hornets Daily presented by FanArc. I'm VB, and don't forget to smash that subscribe button and be right back here tomorrow for a brand new show. Keep buzzing, Hornets fans.